India and Pakistan on the brink of war after Kashmir Massacre, sparks military strikes tensions between India and Pakistan have erupted into full-scale military confrontation following a deadly massacre of tourists in India-administered Kashmir. Last month, on May 7, 2025, India launched a series of airstrikes on both Pakistan and Pakistan-administered Kashmir, claiming to target terrorist infrastructure associated with militant groups in the region. The escalation, which follows months of rising tensions, has brought the two nuclear-armed neighbors to the brink of a wider conflict, as both nations suffer casualties from the ongoing strikes. The Kashmir conflict, a history of hostility. India and Pakistan have a long-standing and deeply rooted dispute over Kashmir, a region claimed in full by both countries but divided between them. Both nations have fought 3 wars over the territory since gaining independence in 1947. The situation has been exacerbated by extremist groups operating in the region, including Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed, JEM, both of which have been blamed for inciting violence in Kashmir, including the horrific attack on tourists that set off the latest round of violence. Thank you for watching Yellow Pepper TV, your source for trusted news and insights. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay informed. India strikes retaliation for the Kashmir Massacre. India's government responded to the April massacre in Kashmir by launching airstrikes early on May 7th, targeting what it described as terrorist infrastructure within Pakistan and Pakistan-administered Kashmir. The strikes, which were carried out in the dead of night, targeted multiple locations associated with militant training camps, particularly in the Punjab region of Pakistan. Indian officials claimed that these operations were in direct response to the massacre, which left dozens of civilians dead, allegedly at the hands of militants backed by Pakistan-based groups. India's Foreign Minister, Subrahmanyam Jaishankar, made it clear that India holds Pakistan responsible for harboring terrorism in the disputed region, pointing to Pakistan's historical support for militant groups operating in Kashmir. Pakistan's retaliation, fighter jets and casualties. In retaliation, Pakistan claimed to have shot down 5 Indian Air Force jets, including 3 Rafale fighter jets, in what has been described as one of the largest and longest aerial dogfights in recent history. The confrontation lasted over an hour, with fighter jets from both sides engaging in missile exchanges at distances exceeding 100 miles. Pakistani authorities warned that their response would be measured, with Pakistan's Defense Minister Khawaja Asif assuring the public that the country would only target military installations and avoid civilian casualties. Nevertheless, Pakistan's military spokesperson confirmed the death of 31 people in India's attacks, with another 57 injured. On the Indian side of the border, shelling from Pakistan's military killed 12 civilians and injured 57. Despite the escalating violence, both countries appear hesitant to move toward all-out war, with Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif cautioning against a full-scale conflict while maintaining that Pakistan would not back down from defending its sovereignty. The role of the international community as the situation unfolds. Global leaders have expressed grave concern over the possibility of an all-out war between India and Pakistan. Nobel Peace Prize laureate Malala Yousafzai urged both nations to de-escalate the conflict, calling for dialogue and a focus on protecting civilians. In a tweet, Yousafzai stated, "Hatred and violence are our common enemies, not each other," emphasizing the need for peace. The United States has also offered its assistance in de-escalating the conflict. President Donald Trump, known for his diplomatic ties with both India and Pakistan, expressed his willingness to mediate between the two nations to prevent further escalation. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who is also the interim national security advisor, spoke to officials from both sides, urging them to keep lines of communication open, aerial dogfight, and the dangers of escalation. One of the most intense moments of this conflict occurred when both India and Pakistan engaged in a major dogfight between their air forces. Reports suggest that 125 fighter jets were involved in the clash, which saw missile exchanges at ranges up to 160 kilometers. Both countries were cautious about sending pilots over the contested border, following a humiliation for India in 2019, when an Indian Air Force pilot was captured by Pakistan after his jet was shot down. This time, both sides aimed to keep their combat strictly within their own airspace to avoid further escalation. Looking ahead, the path to peace or war. The latest round of violence has the potential to ignite a much broader regional conflict, with both sides engaging in a war of words and military actions. India continues to accuse Pakistan of supporting terrorism in Kashmir, while Pakistan maintains that India's attacks are unjustified and disproportionate. The civilian toll on both sides has raised alarm, with both governments facing domestic pressure to secure their national security without triggering a full-scale war. As Pakistan and India stare down the barrel of potential war, the question remains, can diplomatic efforts succeed, or are both nations destined for an even greater escalation? The road to peace. Will diplomacy prevail? While the situation remains volatile, there is still a chance for diplomacy to de-escalate the tension. Pakistani Defense Minister Khawaja Asif's commitment to only targeting military assets and avoiding civilian casualties signals a desire to limit the conflict's scope. However, the stakes are high, and with both countries continuing to ramp up military actions, it is uncertain whether cooler heads will prevail. As the world watches, the fear of a broader conflict looms large over the Indian subcontinent, with millions of civilians caught in the middle of a dangerous geopolitical standoff.